Episode category is Master Writer, and I want to talk about P.Padmarajan sir, concentrating on Aparan, 1988. I'm a fan of his writing, but to be frank, I'm not a fan of all his directorial ventures. But at the same time, I do appreciate that there are exceptionally brilliant works like Aparan or Innale or Karila Katupole. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's focus now on Aparan. Vishwanathan, that's the name of the protagonist. Vishwanathan, a new in town, soon learns that he is being chased by enemies of his look-alike Uttaman, who is a con man. Vishwanathan tries to find out Uttaman before it is too late, but things don't go as planned. He based the screenplay on his own short story named Aparan. So, if you ask me what must have inspired him to write this short story, I don't have a clear answer. But if you are okay with speculations, I have a calculated guess on how P. Padmarajan sir or somebody whom he knew well must have got this initial idea, because there were talks about a docudrama which had a very similar topic to discuss. It was directed by none other than the master of suspense, Alfred Hitchcock. The Wrong Man, starring Henry Fonda and Vera Miles, got released in 1956. It was adapted for screen based on the non-fiction book The True Story of Christopher Emmanuel Balestro by Maxwell Anderson, and a magazine article, A Case of Identity, published in Life magazine in January 1953 by Herbert Breen. I think Martin Scorsese has admitted that Alfred Hitchcock's docudrama has inspired him while doing his well-acclaimed movie Taxi Driver. So yeah, we can definitely speculate that maybe Aparan was also inspired. But whether it was inspired by The Wrong Man or not, Aparan is on a much higher level from The Wrong Man. Why? Because P. Padmarajan sir explored the psychological level of duality. What's duality? Duality actually stands for the quality or state of having two different or opposite parts of or elements. In Aparan, on the superficial level, the surface layer, there is a protagonist and a look-alike antagonist. But deep inside, psychologically, such a contradiction between good and evil prevails inside the protagonist himself. This is quite common in literature actually. There is a commonly used term for this, Gothic double, to denote the duality within a character based on the presumption that his or her duality centers on the polarity of good and evil. Padmarajan sir had such a strong grasp on literature, way more than all the other writers of his time. You know that, right? Let's focus on Aparan. On the surface, there is a duality in the actions and deeds of Vishwanathan and his lookalike criminal Uttaman. Deep inside, as the story progresses, Vishwanathan undergoes a transition, and we witness there is a polarity, a duality in Vishwanathan's character itself. When Vishwanathan desperately decides that he has to do something to meet the lookalike and bring him to justice, he learns whatever that's known about him and tries to imitate it. The aim is good, okay, but the path he chooses is not so good, because slowly, when he sticks onto this new fake persona, it creates a division in his mind, a divide. We can see Vishwanathan's aversion towards his own reflections and shadows. This is the existential crisis and identity crisis worsening him. Padmarajan sir brilliantly chose not to show this antagonist, the villain Uttaman, till the end. Even the name Uttaman is just one name among many which he opts for each operation. So our protagonist Vishwanathan is splitting his mind, the self, into two just based on speculations by all those who have come across this criminal. Even at the end, when these two, the protagonist and antagonist, fight, we don't get a chance to see the criminal's face, but we see him die. Later, when he realized that the police mistook him for the dead man and brought the criminal's dead body to his house, though we see him confess it emotionally to his dad, is he actually sad? No, because we see one of the most villainous smiles on his face at the end when he sees the ember and ashes in the funeral pyre of the dead lookalike. He started this game to earn back his identity from his imposter. At the end, though his identity became ashes, he believes that there is no competitor for the identity he's about to assume, like what his doppelganger was doing. So, though he thinks he attained his true self, do you think so? Or do you think the divide in his mind is much worse now? Also, a large percentage of the audience still believe that Vishwanathan actually died in the scuffle and the criminal has now fooled Vishwanathan's father. They decoded such a meaning from the evil smile. So, the duality has a resolution on the surface level and also on the psychological layers underneath it. They also accuse that such an idea inspired many other plot twists, especially I'm not among them because I believe Vishwanathan assumed the self and identity of the antagonist. By the way, if you want to dive deep into the concept of duality in literature, I would suggest The Double by Dostoevsky and The Double by Jose Saramago. Go through both these works or at least the long summary versions available online. And make sure you watch the movie adaptations of both these. First one, The Double, a Petersburg poem, is a Russian novella written by Fyodor Dostoevsky. 2013 released British dark comedy thriller movie Double, directed by Richard Ayoade, is its adaptation. By the way, the 2004 released movie The Machinist, starring Christian Bale, directed by Brad Anderson, was also heavily inspired by Fyodor's novella. The next major fiction, Portuguese writer Jose Saramago's The Double. Denis Villeneuve directed a Canadian thriller based on this Enemy, which was released in 2013. So watch all these movies and go through these texts. Nowadays, duality is actually quite common in movies. Even in a recent Malayalam movie, Kala, you can find bits and pieces of duality. The good and evil in the protagonist forms the core and asks us a question: who is the real Kala? The unwanted creep plant that grows with the other useful plants. By the way, there is a fun fact about Jairam. Ages of starring in Aparan, Jairam kind of explored the humor angle of the imposter and starred in the movie The Car, which got released in 1997. A car owner gets in trouble when two criminals start traveling in a car with the same number. An imposter car. So that's all for now. I hope you all are doing well. That sounds a bit diabolical when we are about to face a third wave of pandemic. I know. Sorry. So take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Godspeed.